The next recipient of the 2025 ICC Services to Sport Award is Craig Smith.
Yes, well done, Craig. Again, a very brief version of his nomination, which something goes along like this. Craig has been involved in Southland Football for over 40 years, much of that time with the Queen's Park Club, a coach and manager across many junior teams. He's been a committee member and treasurer. Concerned at the standard of refereeing, he took up the whistle himself and has been named Referee of the Year multiple times. President of the referee group, Craig's also been appointed to the Southern Football Referee Advisory Group. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give him another round of applause. Craig Smith.
Well, you can start by shouting out to this person here.
Like all Englishmen, thanks Gary. Yeah, football has hooligans, yeah?
Oh, football hazing's on, all go, all go. I'm going to talk to you about what you've finally settled on refereeing, but you've actually covered everything in football.
Yeah, player, coach, manager, still coaching a little bit with juniors, and then yeah, settled on refereeing sort of 10, 15 years ago when I got to that realisation that I was competitive, but my body wasn't.
Vanessa, that's all I'm going to say about that. Refereeing though, we noted in our notes there that you were a little bit concerned about the standards, so instead of just being on the sideline and going wah, he's done something about it. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it wasn't just me. There was another guy that we both sort of held hands and went, no, let's give this thing a kick. And look, when I say worried about the standard, I guess the real answer was it was the perception of the standard. As you get involved in that side of things, you realise that perhaps as a player you didn't know the rules as well as you thought you did.
What? What? Says every player in the room.
So yeah, and then it's just been a case of, look, it gave me something, so it's now time to give it back.
Referee of the Year multiple times.
Yeah, one of them was interesting. It was the year I didn't get accepted for post-season stuff at national level. So it was an interesting year, that one. I didn't do myself any favours in the press either.
Sometimes it just comes out. But you've made it all the way up to that National League, that Women's National League refereeing. Tell us about that journey and how you got there.
Time. Yeah, time, learning the ropes, understanding that you don't always have to think you're right. It's okay to say you're wrong when you're a referee as well. Maybe not as loudly as when you're right, but and then just learning that maybe asking rather than telling is actually the smarter way to go to get a reaction out of players. And yeah, that's the thing that we now teach.
You're so wise, Craig. So wise. What does a typical Saturday look like for you?
At the moment, juniors in the morning, go watch the sun part way through the afternoon, and then at the moment, 1 or 2 referees, go and have a look, see what they're doing. Try and pass some wisdom on, hopefully.
Who do you need to thank? There's always people behind you, right?
Yeah, lots of people actually. So, my wife said I wouldn't thank her, so I will.
Well played.
Yeah, thank you to my wife and to my son for giving me the time, especially during that referee journey. I spent more weekends in Dunedin than I did at home, and I actually missed a fair bit of my young fella's initial work through football because of that. So thank you to my family. Thank you to a very supportive community in football as well. We're getting larger, but when I first started we weren't. And sometimes it was you wondered whether or not you were making a difference, but those people just kept coming on and kept telling you to keep going. So thank you to those people. Thank you to the people who nominated me. You're still kind of in the dog box. It's one of those things you always say that you don't do these things because you want recognition, you do it because the sport needs it. And sport's always going to give me more than I'm going to give it. So.
Well, I think a lot of people would beg to differ. Future of football in Southland, I feel like it's growing, and from an ILT perspective, a funding perspective, getting bigger and bigger. Yeah,
look, the junior numbers are just exploding. I guess you look at it and you go, it doesn't matter what shape you are. If you've got some balance, that helps, but we can help you develop it as well. And yeah, that's now starting to move forward into the senior ranks, which means we now have to find more referees, which is always enjoyable. But yeah, look, we're getting there, and we just keep pushing along because we want to keep growing. We want to keep making the game as accessible as we can to everybody else.
Well, with people like you involved, there is no doubt of that success. Ladies and gentlemen, Craig Smith.